What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Oh, you guys, welcome back to another edition of Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time, and this is a movie review of the film The Witches that just came out on HBO Max earlier this month, and or rather last month, in the month of October 2020. So I didn't have a chance to watch this movie when it dropped. I just got around to watching it yesterday, and today I kind of wanted to tell you my thoughts about it. This is not a terrible movie. It's also not incredibly incredible. So The Witches obviously stars Anne Hathaway, Octavia Spencer, Stanley Tucci, and a whole bunch of other people as well. And like those are the big names of the film. Those are the draw, as they would say. And this is based on a book by Roald Dahl, made into a movie in, was it like 90 or 91, something like that, with Anjelica Huston. And so they just did a remake. This particular remake is directed by Robert Zemeckis, one of my favorite directors. I love Robert Zemeckis. If you've heard the name Robert Zemeckis, but you can't quite place what movies he's directed, well, let me tell you, Back to the Future, Forrest Gump are some of his most notable works. A few years ago, he did the movie Flight with Denzel Washington. He also did The Polar Express. He did A Christmas Carol, the Jim Carrey animated version, kind of the CG version of that. He usually works very closely with Alan Silvestri, who's a film composer, musical composer. And so he worked on The Witches, which I was not as when I found out, when the credits started rolling and it said directed by Robert Zemeckis, my first knee-jerk reaction is, oh yeah, I could see that. It has a little bit of a Robert Zemeckis feel or flair to it. But then my second knee-jerk reaction was, he could have done better. He's done better. So, like, here's the thing with this movie, you guys. I get it. First of all, it's based on a book. Very popular children's book by Roald Dahl, right? So I get, like, the subject material. I get the source material, the subject matter. I just, like, I don't know. I feel like this is the kind of movie that families can sit down and watch together. But I will say there's an oddity to this film in terms of aesthetic. Some of the witchy things that they do is a little grotesque. Like there's a part where I'm just gonna go ahead and talk minor spoilers. There's a part where Anne Hathaway, as like the Grand Witch or whatever she's called, because I've never read the book and I've never seen like the previous incarnation with Anjelica Huston. So this is my only frame of reference for The Witches, right? So there's a sequence where these mice are running away from Anne Hathaway, and they're doing so in the ventilation systems, and they come to a fan. Of course, it's always that trope where there's a fan, and oh no, we're blocked in. What are we gonna do? And so they dodge her hands, but like it's kind of grotesque that Anne Hathaway as a witch is like reaching her arms through every nook and cranny of this ventilation shaft, and it looks really kind of gross. It's almost like you can see the bones in her arm cracking and breaking and then elongating, and then other parts of her arm are like breaking and cracking, and it's just like this weird like CG breaking of arms and then stretching the arm. It looks kind of gross. And then she gets her fingers caught and like cut by the fan as the mice like dodge the hands. Hands go straight into the fan and her hands get all cut up. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of gross. Like, this is a children's movie. That visual is kind of gross. Like, and even the way that they CG'd her mouth. Whenever Anne Hathaway speaks, like, yes, she has her mouth that opens like this, right? But then there's also these slits that go up like halfway up her cheek, so she can open her mouth like, or, and that is moderately terrifying. So, I mean, obviously this is a choice. This was done on purpose. Probably a way to put like really gross visuals in kind of like a more family-friendly, safe environment for kids. I don't know if that was the best choice. It looks weird. And I'm not opposed to things looking weird, but this just didn't feel like that level of grotesqueness should have been in this kind of a movie. And again, like, it's a very simple story, right? It's a very simple story. I'm not gonna like reveal the whole story, but it's a pretty black and white, straight as an arrow. Like, here we go. This happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then it's over, right? There's very few twists. I feel like the exposition, they explain what they're going to do, and then they do it. And then they explain what they're going to do, and then they do it. And then they explain what they're... Oh, I don't know if I said this yet, but they explain what they're going to do, and then they do it. So, I don't know. Let's break this movie down, you guys. Let's break it down. Let's talk about acting. The acting in the movie... I get it. It's a kid's movie. You're not going to deliver like an Oscar-level performance. But even still, like, you get these really great actors. I don't know if they've all won an Oscar, but they've all been nominated. Octavia Spencer, Anne Hathaway, Stanley Tucci. Octavia Spencer is easily the best part of this movie. Easily. She's just the most interesting to watch. And like, I could watch a video of Octavia Spencer just churning butter if that's what she wanted to do. Just stand in the kitchen and make butter. If that's what she did, I would watch that video all day long, because that's how interesting she is. I don't know. What accent was Anne Hathaway using? Because it kept changing every 3 seconds. I have no idea what accent she was going for, but it didn't stay. It didn't work. And Stanley Tucci was wasted. Completely wasted. I feel like they could have given... And again, I get it. Like, it's an adaptation of the book. You kind of get restricted by the story of the book. But I don't know. I would have liked to have seen these guys do maybe something a little bit different, have a little bit more fun. 12 out of 20 for acting. Directing. This is where Robert Zemeckis lost me a little bit. It's not the worst directed movie ever. It looks great. The cinematography in this is beautiful. The CG looked very CG. There's a CGI cat that like walks on Anne Hathaway's shoulders and kind of like sits itself on her hand, and it looks flat. The image looks flat. It doesn't look 3D. It doesn't look like it belongs in this movie. I guess the mice look fine. And then there's a CG snake, and like, I don't know, some of the visuals just don't add up for me. The storytelling, and again, and this is part of the writing. I'll talk about that in a minute. But like I said, we're going to tell you what we're going to do, and then we're going to do it. So, I don't know, the opening image, I was like, ooh, this is interesting. You're captivating me. And that little bit of story at the beginning it doesn't have any consequence. It has nothing to do with the rest of the story, or like with everything else that happens. I would dare say, like, replace the characters of Octavia Spencer and her grandson with almost literally anybody else. You could have the same outcome. Their past, the things that happen to them, are of no consequence. They are of no consequence whatsoever. And that annoyed me. So, I mean, I guess really we should be talking about writing as I'm talking about this. So, I mean, the structure of the story, the characters coming back, whatever, it, like, I don't know. It didn't it was fine, and I get it. You're restricted by the source material, but a lot of the stuff just didn't add up for me. So for writing, I'm going to give writing a 13 out of 20. So we jumped over directing. Let's go back to directing. Robert Zemeckis is capable of much better work than this. 9 out of 20. Let's go to the takeaway. The takeaway of the movie, I guess it was fun. I like it's not the most fun movie. It's a fine family film. It's a film that has a lot of problems. But I guess it's fine to sit down and, watch with your kids or have kids watch with their parents more so. I don't think it's going to be a problem to hand the kids the remote and say, hey, go watch what you want. And then they turn on The Witches, which, by the way, it's on HBO Max, and there's a lot of stuff you probably don't want your kids watching on HBO Max. Anyway, it's fine. As a movie itself, I didn't have a huge problem with it. Takeaway is that I guess it's fun. I guess it's kind of a fun movie. It's a cute movie. I hate the word cute, but I think that is an adequate description of this film. I'm going to give it 15 out of 20. Maybe a little higher than it deserves, but I don't know. It's okay. So the effectiveness. How well did this movie work? I think that the filmmakers wanted this, and the producers wanted this to work on a little higher level. I don't think that they intended it to be as meh as it turned out to be. It's fine. It's okay. I feel like they had an opportunity to do something really fun and really creative, and I think they just phoned it in. It's okay. It's fine. I think it works on a 13 out of 20 kind of scale. Anyway, guys, let's add all these scores up, and it makes a combined total of...
I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
That's right, I'm giving The Witches a 62 out of 100. 62 out of 100. I think that's a pretty fair score, but I can see the argument how some people would say, Mike, this is a much better film than you're giving it credit for. Or, Mike, that score is way too high. That movie did not work that well. I think 62 is a pretty good score. Where do you fall? What do you think? Have you seen The Witches? Does this review make you want to go see The Witches? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Batman from the animated series would want you to do. His name is Batman.